Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. President Nayib Bukele has the IMF beat after years of financial pressure from the International Monetary Fund. It does look like El Salvador with its Bitcoin as legal tender law. And Bukele's unshakable stance is forcing the IMF to bend the knee. Bitcoin and the market have turned red on the day. After the Bank of Japan put out a statement to calm the markets, Morgan Stanley's wealth advisors have the green light to pitch Bitcoin to clients. Let's dive straight into Nayib Bukele. He does have the eyes. Look, see here. We will dive into this article. Before we do, we have Max Kaiser. Dear IMF, you don't change Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes you. I predict the IMF will be doing a Bukele and a sailor very soon, putting Bitcoin on the IMF's balance sheet. This is going way back. I just want to show a couple of things. This is the BBC article here, but we're going to dive into a couple of things from the IMF as well over the years. You can see 26th of January 2022, the IMF urges El Salvador to remove Bitcoin as legal tender. Couple of things. International Monetary Fund has urged El Salvador to reverse its decision to make Bitcoin legal tender. In September, El Salvador became the first country to allow customers or consumers to use the cryptocurrency in all transactions alongside the US dollar. Decision led to large-scale protests over fears it would bring instability and inflation to the impoverished Latin American country. We're going to dive into how well their dollar is doing. We need to dive into what's happening here in Australia as well. It's a good contrast to what happens when you do or don't accept Bitcoin as legal tender. The IMF has warned President Nayib Bukele of the risks of the cryptocurrency posed to the country, stressing it would be difficult to get a loan from the institution. They're putting pressure on there. This is the theme. The board's directors have now urged the authorities to narrow the scope of the Bitcoin law by removing Bitcoin's legal tender status. Couple of things. Bitcoin was trading about 37,000 on Tuesday, this is back in 23, having lost about half its value compared to the record of 67,000 in November. President Bukele announced in November plans to build a Bitcoin city at the base of a volcano in El Salvador with the cryptocurrency used to fund the project. Straight off the IMF website here. IMF.org. March 20, 2023. Under Article 4 of the Articles Agreement, the IMF has a mandate to exercise surveillance over the economic, financial and exchange rate policies of its members in order to assure the effective operation of the international monetary system. IMF's appraisal of such policies involves a comprehensive analysis of the general economic situation and policy strategy of each member country. The IMF economists visit the member country usually about once a year to collect and analyze data and hold discussions with government and central bank officials. Diving into the next one, Bitcoin Magazine. This is April 12 this year in 2024. IMF is reportedly demanding changes to El Salvador's pioneering Bitcoin law amid 1.4 billion credit negotiations, according to a report. What's most interesting is Bukele is not bending the knee. We'll dive into a couple of articles shortly where the IMF has now started to switch tunes slowly. IMF is reportedly demanding changes to El Salvador's pro-Bitcoin law, hindering the country's attempt to secure a $1.4 billion credit line as reported by Infobay, making it difficult because they're looking for freedom. However, the IMF has objected to the Bitcoin law amid loan negotiations with El Salvador, which needs financing to pay debts and obligations. Talks have stalled for nearly 2 years over the IMF's calls to limit Bitcoin's scope in the country. According to the IMF Communication Director Julie Kozak on last Thursday, the risks of Bitcoin remain a key issue in discussions with El Salvador. IMF has previously cited financial integrity and stability concerns about Bitcoin. The fund's opposition highlights a clash over the future of money and payments, while Bukele sees Bitcoin as an innovative solution for financial inclusion. The IMF remains wary of its volatility and decentralized nature and a threat to their dominance. We have 3 more things on this article, and then we'll dive into some really bizarre articles. Then we'll dive into how the IMF is changing their tune. Shout out to everyone that is watching live, watching the replay. If you can smash the like button, and hope you are well on this glorious morning. We do have the red buy button behind us this morning. We'll dive into that shortly. But the IMF loan impasse puts El Salvador in a difficult fiscal position. By tying loan access to changes in El Salvador's Bitcoin law, the IMF is exerting its influence over poorer nations. But Bukele seems unwilling to back down. What a legend on Bitcoin, creating an ideological tug-of-war, demands to roll back the Bitcoin law, undermine the country's monetary sovereignty. IMF, of course, they want to stay in control. The standoff illustrates the disruptive potential of Bitcoin to reshape global finance. While risky for El Salvador in the near term, Bukele's Bitcoin bet could pay long-run dividends. Now, the IMF is evil. This Politico.com. Rich countries take aim at nations adopting crypto. I think you'll find this fairly fascinating. Central banks try to block attempts by poorer countries to use digital currency to upend monetary norms. The reason I bring this up is this is why we Bitcoin. This is why we are here, to be able to move away from the evil institution that wants to control the whole world. Opt out. Bitcoin is that resistance money. We'll dive into that shortly. But when Argentina's central bank issued a de facto ban on trading digital assets, enraged cryptocurrency investors quickly fingered a culprit. As part of a bailout negotiation with the IMF, the South American nation has recently promised to crack down on cryptocurrencies. The IMF is evil. Typical Twitter response. Across 4 continents, tensions over the future of money have mounted in recent weeks. As Western investors and developing world leaders pursue new initiatives that encourage countries to adopt Bitcoin as an official currency, and the Central African Republic joins El Salvador in doing so. We sort of forgot about that, didn't they? That the Central African Republic did allow it for a little bit. The stewards of the global financial system are increasingly pushing back. Officials from the US, IMF, World Bank, and the Bank for International Settlements argue that by adopting cryptocurrency, nations could facilitate money laundering and undermine capital controls, those words there, while exposing their citizens to severe price volatility. Activists and investors who support such experiments argue cryptocurrency like Bitcoin offer an escape from rapidly inflating currencies in places like Argentina and Nigeria, while allowing poor countries to explore alternatives to a global financial framework that was designed to benefit rich countries. They contend that the reservations the world's monetary stewards have less to do with protecting the well-being of the developing world than with preserving a system in which the central banks and governments of rich countries dominate their global monetary system. So Bitcoin stands against everything the IMF stands for, said Alex Gladstein. It's an outside money that's beyond the control of these alphabet soup organizations. Last things on here, there should be one more. We'll come back to that one. Now, drug trafficking, money laundering, it's their go-to. And if you've forgotten, JP Morgan has been spouting this tune for a very, very long time. Shout out to everyone watching live.
I've been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc. You pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, and that is a use case because it is somewhat anonymous, not fully, and because you can move money instantaneously, and because it doesn't go through, as you mentioned, all these systems have built up over many years, know your customers, sanctions, OFAC, they can bypass all of that. If I was the governments, I'd close it down.
Okay.
That's why they don't like it. They can't control it. And maybe don't do illegal stuff with it. Tax evasion, not the best idea. Better just to hold Bitcoin, and there's no tax implication if you don't sell it. Just a little bit of an FYI. Anyway, the tune's the same with the current financial elite. But then the IMF, yesterday, August 6, 2024, started to change their tune. And well done to Bukele for not stepping down, for staying strong, staunch. Washington, D.C., an International Monetary Fund mission led by Mr. Rafael Espinanzo issued a statement following in-person and virtual discussions over the past months with the Salvadorian authorities. These discussions focused on policies that could be supported by an IMF program to address macroeconomic imbalances and strengthen El Salvador's medium-term growth prospects and resilience. Progress has been made in the negotiations toward a fund-supported program focused on policies to strengthen public finances. boost bank reserve buffers, improve governance and transparency, and mitigate the risk from Bitcoin. Progress was also made on developing a plan to gradually strengthen financial system reserve buffers in a manner consistent with continued private sector credit and growth. This is also being supported by efforts to reduce the government's reliance on domestic financing through the planned consolidation, potential support from the fund and other multilateral development banks. Multilateral development banks sounds sinister. Anyway, on the structural side, preliminary understandings were reached on a comprehensive multi-year strategy to enhance governance, transparency, and the overall investment climate. The authorities are well advanced in preparing legislative proposals to address corruption, money laundering, vulnerabilities, and weaknesses in the procurement frameworks. On Bitcoin, while many of the risks have not yet materialized, there is joint recognition that further efforts are needed to enhance transparency and mitigate potential fiscal and financial stability risks from the Bitcoin project. Additional discussions in this and other key areas remain necessary. The fund team looks forward to maintaining its close engagement with the Salvadorian authorities with the objective of reaching agreement on policies that will ensure stability and prosperity for the benefit of all Salvadorian people. I find that quite interesting. They've been so staunch for so many years. For the last 2 years, they have been gatekeepers. In regards to their own fund, it's their money, it's their choice, I guess. But the whole world is basically run by the IMF. When they put these things in where you can't have a loan from us because you buy Bitcoin, someone like Bukele standing so strong, so staunch, and the economy improving, the IMF's like, maybe we need to change this. And probably Larry Fink has a little bit to do from that. Even JP Morgan is talking about Bitcoin. We'll come to that later on in the show. But going over the last 5 years, the Salvadorian colon, SVC to USD, it's done pretty well. It's actually increased in value after the last 5 years. It's held really steady on a Bitcoin strategy. If we come over to Australia over the last 5 years, we have not done so well. Australia is not doing real well at all. Most Western countries are not doing real well. And we're measuring it against one USD. The thing is, the United States dollar has lost a massive amount of purchasing power at the same time. So Australia is royally up Ship's Creek at the moment in regards to that. And there is a bit of gaslighting. 3AW, Melbourne, should the government be banned for our inflation? The word should, I absolutely dislike it. You either do or you do not, according to Mr. Yoda there. Should the government's the only people here in Australia that have the possibility of printing money, of spending that money that they print out of thin air. So should they? The government is 100% responsible for the inflation in your life. No exceptions, not should. They 100% are. And just on Australia for a moment, 1/4 of Australians fear becoming homeless as the cost of living crisis continues to squeeze the country. This is 9 News Australia. 1 in 4 Aussies fear becoming homeless. The Salvation Army finds. It's a big non-profit organisation. It's a little bit scary. And then we've got the RBA, people saying the RBA should set the target inflation to 4% instead of 2%, as there is not much difference. So now I'm talking about Australia here, but this applies everywhere in the world that's got high inflation. At just 4%, that's considered low. You should feel lucky. And that's what they're advertising. We're at about 3.8% at the moment. The purchasing power of 3.8% over 10 years. If you have $10,000 year one, 9,633, we'll just skip every 2 years. Year 3, you're down to 8,942. At the 5th year, that $10,000 has dropped nearly $1,700, or just over $1,700, down to $8,298. Year 7, $7,700, so you've lost $2,300 over 7 years, just on $10,000. That's pretty insane. And then year 10, you're down to $6,886 in purchasing power at only a 4% inflation rate. In Australia at the moment, it's A lot of things are about 10, 11%. The things that actually matter to you. I believe energy is up about 20%. Definitely feeling that here with the bill. So Bitcoin, is it a hedge? Can you protect yourself from inflation? Or is the IMF right? It's just too risky. It doesn't lead to financial freedom. We'll dive into that shortly. But this is what Matt Hogan, the CIO of Bitwise, has to say. And we have interviewed Matt Hogan here on the channel before. But I like this messaging.
And it's a new thing. It's a challenge to have something that's both an emerging technology and therefore a risk asset, and also something that is a natural hedge against chaos, or at least the government's response to chaos, which is always to print money. And it's both of those things at the same time. And that sort of blows people's minds. But if you look historically how that plays out, the way it plays out is pretty simple. Over a very short-term period, it behaves like a risk asset. And over longer periods of time, it plays that role as a hedge. If you look since COVID, the dollar's lost 25% of its value. Bitcoin is up hundreds of percent. It's done a great job protecting you against the inflation that followed COVID. Did it do a great job every single day? Absolutely not. If that's what you want, you need an inverse position in the S&P 500. But if what you're looking at is to protect your savings, your retirement, your investments over a year, over 5 years, over 10 years, Bitcoin's track record is exceptional. And I think you just have to be willing to hold those two things in your mind at the same time, which I know is challenging. Even I wrestle with it, but at least that's what history teaches you is true.
What he's saying there, to be able to sum it up really simply, is you buy Bitcoin, you hold Bitcoin, and you do nothing. You don't worry about the price. Unless you're smashing the buy button, the red days are the best days to be able to buy. Even green at the moment is still under $100,000, and we'll get into that shortly. But Bitcoin, it's the world's hardest asset. If you're holding your wealth, generational wealth in Bitcoin, and you need to make sure it is protected 100%, reach out to the Bitcoin Way. The first 30 minutes is free. The team, 25 years cybersecurity experience. Tony used to work for Apple under Steve Jobs. They're number one, secure your Bitcoin in self-custody. That includes an air-gapped wallet. People ask, what do I use? I use Cold Card. It's the best on the market. There's other options out there as well. Foundation devices, I'm hearing some really good things, very user-friendly. I will be buying my mum a Foundation device. I'll get it first. I may even do a review. Let us know if you're interested in that. But in regards to the Bitcoin Way, air gap number one, running a node number two. If you're holding your life savings, for me, I've got everything in Bitcoin apart from cash to run the company. I want to be able to sleep easy at night. Working with the team at the Bitcoin Way has helped me do that, and they will with you as well. Again, the first 30 minutes is free. If you are worried, maybe you're in London, you need to diverse your residency somewhere else, they can help you get a second passport for a country that's maybe a little bit safer at this stage. Wherever it is, it's nice to be able to have a second option. Now, today's a pretty big day. Morgan Stanley is getting fired up. People are already receiving those calls from the 15,000 financial advisors that are set to just absolutely unleash pure signal, I guess, on people. No one's really been exposed to the world's hardest, scarcest asset ever before. We're in such a unique time. But Alessandro, good morning. Today, Wednesday, 8th of August, 24, is the day when 15,000 financial advisors from Morgan Stanley are authorized to pitch Bitcoin to certain clients. Soon, the authorization will be extended to all clients, and UBS and Wells Fargo expected to join Morgan Stanley latest in Q4. The Bitcoin marketing team is becoming bigger and bigger and reaching more and more wealthy individuals. Morgan Stanley advisors can officially pitch the Bitcoin ETFs. For now, the advisory platform is only recommending ETFs from BlackRock and Fidelity. No surprises there. And in regards to the ETF, it's number go up technology. Well done, you got the ETF. Good job. But not your keys, not your coins. If you're not holding the keys to your Bitcoin, it's not really yours. It's just an IOU to you. Maybe just have a grab bag in case. Obviously, the Bitcoin Way, that link's at the top of the description if you need help. The ETFs, price, well done. That's great. But Bitcoin's a little bit more than that. And the more of us that hold Bitcoin in self-custody, it's a Trojan horse. It's on the inside, and we'll see what happens over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It'll either make them act more responsibly or they're going to blow up. Anyway, for now, Morgan Stanley is only recommending the two products, IBIT and FBTC, winning over Morgan Stanley. Milestone for crypto among wirehouses. Morgan Stanley is the largest. Its advisor network manages some $3.75 trillion, including $1 trillion in self-directed clients, according to financialplanning.com. BlackRock and Fidelity are emerging as blue chips among the Bitcoin ETFs. They are seeing adoption not only among wirehouses like Morgan Stanley, but also among independent financial advisors. Please excuse me. Since the launch of these spot crypto ETFs, demand has been strong across all client segments, which is exciting to see the potential this asset class brings among retail investors, RIAs, institutional investors beyond. So the continued uptake by leading advisor platforms could spur a surge of inflows from advisors into spot Bitcoin ETFs. It looks like advisors are recommending roughly 3%, 2 to 3% on average, $3.7 trillion, 2 to 3% of that is a huge, extraordinary amount of money. And that's just Morgan Stanley, yeah? People are already getting calls. Until now, the largest financial advisory firms known as wirehouses have been hesitant to embrace the spot crypto ETFs. Inflows from financial advisors were previously limited to independent shops known as registered investment advisors. They tend to be a little bit early, but the world is waking up. They are catching up, and people are fearful that we're at, what, $55,000? We'll dive into the price shortly, but British Hodl, who we had on yesterday, if you haven't checked out that video, please do. There are a total of 330,000 FAs in America. They oversee $100 trillion in wealth. $100 trillion. Robbie Mitnick, head of digital assets at BlackRock, has said that people are pursuing a 2 to 3% initial allocation. There's that number again. This is a minimum of 2 to 3 trillion injection of capital. Would that just put the market cap, hypothetically, if this thesis plays out, 3 trillion onto whatever we are now, $1.1 trillion. We'll dive into those numbers shortly. 4 trillion. No, it's going to be much, much higher. According to the Bitcoin bear market multiplier, is that still effective? Yes, no. It's useful, I guess, for a little bit of speculation. We could be looking at the price of $5.2 million per Bitcoin in a very short number of years after everyone is onboarded. I predict all 330 advisors are onboarded by the end of 2026. $5.2 million per Bitcoin. Why not? It's either going to $0 or $1 million, and I don't believe it's going to $0. Even when we got the big buy button in the background, $5.2 million over time, potentially. I think so. When? I don't know. Maybe it's a little while away, or according to British, in a very short number of years after everyone is onboarded. Fred Kruger chiming in. 7 catalysts for the Q4 2025 bull run. Massively cheap on the power law. All models will be broken. Eventually, MS adding IBIT plus FBCC. That happened today. UBS plus Wells expected in Q4. Advisors starting to actually allocate. Rate cut in 43 days. Election over in 91 days. Either way, it's bullish. Second rate cut after the election. We should 2x at a min. Possibly 200K is in play. And this is why the market's red. The Bank of Japan deputy governor says they won't raise rates when the market is unstable. The yen is getting absolutely destroyed. They say that, they come out, and the market just does not believe them. They've had enough. Carl, if you sell Bitcoin because some degenerate fiat degens messed up the dollar yen carry trade, you should reconsider your life. That's why we need to read these books down here and be convinced that Bitcoin is something that you just buy, stack, and chill, hold for the long term, forever, if you can. And there are options if you need some liquidity, but don't leverage up with it, and don't sell, don't panic sell at times like these. You know, the other day, Mr. 100, they bought another 900 Bitcoin worth $50 million. And who is Mr. 100? Most likely an exchange. because after a crazy snacking spree, missed 100, they just dumped the most ever 6,000 Bitcoin in a single day. Watching the whale wallets, it really does not matter. If they dump the market, you've got an opportunity to smash the buy button. We are still in an uptrending market. Natalie Brunell says it really well. It's 2 minutes. Actually, we'll just get into the numbers and then we'll come back to Natalie Brunell. It's so eloquent the way that she describes everything. But block height 855,827 sats per USD. As a couple of weeks ago, it was like in the 1600s. Now it's at 1811. You're getting a really good deal at the moment. We are at $1.09 trillion. Last block, I'll just hit refresh on that just one more time and see. It's looking to be about half an hour ago. I've noticed a trend lately with the blocks being really slow, and that looks to be true. 41 blocks slow. Average block time, 10 minutes and 23 seconds. The previous adjustment was up a little bit too high. We have seen miners capitulate as well. I think Ocean Mining had, I can't remember the exact figures, but a huge percentage of miners just wiped out last week and left it for dead. But the hash rate, it is going up and to the right forever like Bitcoin's price. Anyway, over to Natalie Brunell from Coin Stories.
Let's go to Natalie Brunell. She is the Coin Stories podcast host. Natalie, should I believe today or yesterday when it comes to some of these crypto plays?
Hi, Neil. Great to see you. Well, Bitcoin, it's a great day to buy every day. And there's a saying I think of during times of panic, and that is, a genius is the man who can do the average thing when everyone else around him is losing his mind. And the genius thing is just a dollar cost average into Bitcoin. Ignore the noise. Bitcoin was $25,000 last August. So zoom out and remember that markets go up, but they can also come back down, and the corrections are really great buying opportunities.
Now, given the market volatility, I thought I would have seen, the Bitcoin and some of these other plays hold their own as an alternative. Gold typically has been the hedge of late. It's down a little bit today, but it's in and out of these all-time highs of close to $2,500 the ounce. Is it a battle between gold and Bitcoin and some of these others?
Well, I think Bitcoin improves upon the properties of gold. And
Well
Bitcoin
said.
is really digital capital. You can trade it at the speed of light globally 24/7 without permission from any intermediary. So when people want to express sentiment on market shifts or geopolitical risks overnight or on a weekend, there are very few things that they can sell instantly. And so think about what that says about our 21st century system, Neil. And I credit Michael Saylor for pointing this out too. We are interconnected through digital technology, and yet we're crawling on 20th century rails and schedules when it comes to moving capital. Securities trade Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 4. So 135 hours of the week, you can't move capital. Everything is slow and expensive, and you have to get permission from your bank, which has to get permission from the central bank, in what's ultimately an over-leveraged, over-financialized, undercapitalized system. And so while many people don't understand this yet, Bitcoin is digital capital, and its volatility in times of panic is actually a feature, not a bug. It shows how liquid and reliable it is.
Again, sum it up. Just absolutely relax. It's a glorious opportunity. If you are new to Bitcoin, welcome. There's a couple of things you need to know. The ETS, while their number go up technology, it's not Bitcoin. It's an IOU on Bitcoin. You actually have to hold the Bitcoin in self-custody. And Bitcoin is volatile. Over time, it's volatile to the upside, about 60% per year compounded year over year for the last 10 years. But day to day, it can be like this. The other day, we had about a $12,000 dump and then a $10,000 pump. It happens, get used to it. But if you can't stomach a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 down day, you're not going to be rewarded with thousands of percent later. I understand that can be a little bit scary, but just hold on for dear life. It's the saying that Bitcoiners have, Bitcoin maxis. There's those people with the laser eyes. HODL, hold on for dear life. And it's all you need to do. The hardest thing is to do nothing. The best thing to do is just smash the buy button, sit in your hands, and just enjoy it. Give it 4 years, because over a 4-year time frame, Bitcoin is up and to the right and by an extraordinary amount. In the last year, we're up like 100%, pretty much on the dot. And we've got a really good question in there in regards to Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor is the CEO of MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy owns a little bit more than 1% of the Bitcoin supply. Michael Saylor, a couple of years ago, had 17,000 Bitcoin. He has been selling MicroStrategy personally, his own personal holdings, and more than likely, there's probably no other option out there. He's been putting it into Bitcoin. I dare say, Mr. Android is saying, what do I think about it? And he's probably got 50,000 Bitcoin by now. Maybe. That is an extraordinary amount for one individual, even Michael Saylor, with how well MicroStrategy has done. But he would definitely be gunning for 21,000. Just that number, 0.01%. 0.001%. So I put this poll out the other day. And the word should, I absolutely dislike it. Obviously, coming back to should the Australian government be blamed for inflation? They're the ones with the money printers. So yes, they should. But should does not mean will or must. So Bitcoin should go to 100K is a lot different to Bitcoin will go to 100K. One option has an escape path baked in, the other is a definite. So what happens? 86% Bitcoin will hit 100K. And what time frame? In my opinion, not financial advice, sooner rather than later, maybe even by the end of the year. August, it's going to be a choppy month. We're still in that chop solidation. We had James check on the other day. That's cool. That's all good by me. When it's down at these prices, making the most of it, and I hope you are too. Because when it moves, and Bitcoin moves about 11 days a year and absolutely pumps, that's when it makes the most amount of gains. It moves pretty quick. I think after the interest rate cuts happen in September, money printer is getting warmed up. Bang, we are off to the races. So towards the end of the year and then going into 2025, I think people are going to be in for a nice surprise. But then everyone says it will hit it. The thing with this is you want to usually do the opposite of the masses, but Bitcoiners are usually on point. They're sort of right about everything. This is where I started the research this morning. Bitcoin was at 54,771. It is actually up a little bit as well. Nice $700 gain. And about the last hour, but 55,412. A little bit of sideways and down to the right today. In the last 24 hours, a high 57,607, a lower 54,673. What's that, $3,000? That's just another day in Bitcoin. It's nothing to worry about. When it draws on for so long, like we had 18 months of just up and to the right, and then the last 6 months of just this sideways action, and then you get a pretty bad day that we had on Monday. It's going to shake people out, and then it came back and everyone feels exuberant again, and then it comes back down, and it really wreaks or wreaks havoc on your emotions. It's the price you pay for just absolutely chilling. I almost feel like not looking at the price charts, these videos, the only time I do, because it really doesn't matter. One Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. When it's red, it's obviously a better time to buy when it's green, but it's all still so good. And a little bit of food for thought. Checkmate, obviously James Check, the gentleman from 2 days ago. Short-term holders puked out so many coins yesterday. They locked in losses at a similar scale to when FTX collapsed. FTX was the bottom of the market as well. Are we at the bottom of the market for this cycle? More likely than not, still a possibility we wick lower. I'm hoping for 42K. I doubt I get it, but hey, we can dream big. JP Morgan chiming in, the same Jamie Deem in that Bitcoin tax avoidance, money laundering. JP Morgan says institutions bought the dip while retail panic sold aggressively. That's pretty interesting. Watch what they do, not what they say. Institutions bought $14 billion. Maybe it's because trading platforms were down for retail investors, market manipulation at its finest. There was a proposed note on a post similar to this the other day saying there is no facts that the market was manipulated. The fact was the trading platforms, they're down for retail investors. They couldn't access it. So what more proof do they need that the game is rigged? You need to hold your Bitcoin in self-custody to be able to do it in times like that. And self-custody, trading platforms down, well, you're a holder, but there are so many different ways to sell it if you need to do it. Don't leave your Bitcoin on exchange. Don't get the ETF. Take it into self-custody. It's empowering. You can do anything you need with it. by yourself. Michael Saylor about 4 years ago. So this is what Retro Beaver was asking about. A tweet that I personally had. This Michael Saylor had 17,732 Bitcoin. I haven't sold any Bitcoin. I continue to acquire more Bitcoin. Price is still pretty high, like over the last couple of years, and he's still acquiring Bitcoin. Maybe follow his lead. I think he's been onto it for so long. He's definitely researched it more than most people in the space. Adam Back, the herd is coming. Adam Back, rumors are, or the speculation very often that Adam Back is Satoshi Nakamoto himself. Either way, Adam Back has been in the space before Bitcoin was even here. Getting messages this morning. Time to go to the gym. We'll get ready. Anyway, we'll keep going. We've got a couple of things, and I do want to dive into a couple of questions, but update several sources. The Wells Fargo believe they will quickly follow Morgan Stanley with the Bitcoin ETF approvals. Expect to approve more than just IBIT and FBTC. Full platform approval next month or sooner. I don't know what WFC, WMA has, 1.9 trillion in assets. Wells Fargo, there we go. Makes sense, yeah. And assets under management, so 3.7, 1.9, 2 to 3% for their clients. Like, we really are just getting started. And that's all I hope for people. Bitcoin is literally life-changing technology. Every day I'm going to bring up the Bitcoin way because it has to be in self-custody. You need to protect this at all costs. Whatever you have now, if you've been here, say, for the last 12 months, or depends how hard you've been going, but say you've been here for 12 months, the last 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin you have now over the next couple of years is probably the most Bitcoin you're ever going to have. Of course, people are going to end up selling it. That's going to be at a much higher price. That's why most people are going to sell. You're never going to get that back. But Bitcoin, it's pretty easy to lose. If you store your seed on paper and not on steel, you're an idiot. Please wake up. I know that's a little bit harsh, but it's like $21. You can get something a little bit more expensive. They all do the same job. It's just whatever your preference is. It doesn't matter. It has to be air gapped. You have to run your own node. You need to be your own bank. You need to protect it at all costs because it's so important, and it's going to hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in a very short period of time. Do everything you can. There's no one you can call. There's no refunds if you lose it. And it is literally, Bitcoin is that generational wealth opportunity that's never existed ever in human history. You're here for it. You've been doing the right things. You've been reading the books, getting the information, making sure you're convinced that the red days are a blessing. They're an opportunity to be able to make the most, to be able to buy, stack, and chill, and be handsomely rewarded. And I promise you it will not take long. And I absolutely love this. I got shared this yesterday on X, and this is how legends are made. A massive milestone reached. It was early 2018. I was sitting in a sauna with another S-coiner. At the time, I was a hectic S-coiner. Car coins. I decided to go all in on Bitcoin and ditch all that car. I made a comment about how one day I'd reach X amount of Bitcoin. They both laughed as it seemed impossible. Even I thought it was impossible at the time. Over the last 7 years, I've had laser-like focus on doing everything in my power to sacrifice and acquire more Bitcoin. Yesterday, I smash bought Bitcoin once again and drained my fiat account like I have many hundreds of times before. This time was different, though. I reached that impossible goal. It was effing surreal. So, if you take anything away from this, it is to dream big, take massive action, put blinkers on and get super focused. Every day, do something that takes you towards your goal because it is worth it. Set yourself lofty financial goals, not for the money, for the man you have to become to achieve it. Man or woman you have to be. Onwards and upwards. Well done to Bitcoin Triple Maxi. I don't know if that's the hype button, but that is absolutely fantastic. That's what you need to do. For me, my story is so similar. It's been about 4 years. I got into the car coins as well. That mind virus. It's just fiat 2.0. It's like fiat on steroids. The car coins. That's why I'm so against this. All programming, misinformation, the car coins, adjust narrative. What have they done? in the world. Absolutely nothing. Ethereum's a failed experiment. Solana goes down all the time. XRP is a CBDC. I don't want to support any of that. I want freedom. I want sovereignty. And getting that laser-like focus on Bitcoin, Bitcoin triple maxi, well done for everyone that has hit their goal and then their stretch goal. Well done to you. You're an absolute legend, and I am so glad to be here on this journey, because the people that change themselves are the people that can ultimately make the world a better place. And what is going on in the world right now is absolutely hectic. There's a lot of chaos, a lot of destruction, cybersecurity attacks, pandemics, inflation running right. 1 in 4 people in Australia fearing they could become homeless. 1 in 4. There's 2 people in this household. There's 2 people next door. One of us is feeling we could potentially, statistically, neither of us are going to go homeless because we're stacking Bitcoin, at least in this household. Next door, that they're doing all right. They worked on Canvas since the early days, so they're all good. But you get the point. People are fairly scared because the world's gone crazy. But on a Bitcoin standard, when you hold it over time, you're not subject to the inflation. Yes, short term, you get these red days and you may feel a little bit poorer. Doesn't take long to accumulate real wealth, sovereign wealth, actual money, the only money really that exists in human history, the best form of money. It's an incredible time. Hold on to your conviction, make the most of it, go as hard as you can for 4 years would be my advice, and then keep on going. But by 4 years, you've accumulated probably the bigger percentage, everything you add onto it from there, while still going up in Satoshis, percentage-wise, not as much. But Bitcoin, it's just a superior savings technology. Savings is not for spending today, but for a rainy day out into the future. And what I've found is by saving in Bitcoin. When I was younger, for example, I was pretty broke. I've been broke a lot of times in my life, or for a long time in my life. But I had a mentor, and he said, carry around $1,000 in your wallet. I'm like, no, I don't think so. What if I lose it or whatever? He's like, you need to get comfortable with it. So I had $1,000 in my wallet. I had $1,000 on the wall, just pinned there in $100 bills. And I just got used to having that money. And then money started flowing towards me. Well, fiat currency at that stage, this was before Bitcoin. But when you've got whatever it is, like attracts like, and for some reason these opportunities present themselves because you're not stressing, you've got a little bit of purchasing power behind yourself to be able to back yourself, you can take a couple more risks, but you think through and you're no longer living in that fiat matrix, moving towards a better life. But Bitcoin triple maxi, that's why we're here, for people like this. These are the people that are going to do good in the world. The more wealthy you become in whatever capacity that is, whether it's 1 Bitcoin, 0.0001 Bitcoin, if that's the most you can do, over time holding that, you're going to be able to do really good things in the world. And the Bitcoin community, while they can seem a little bit toxic for people just hopping in, all they're talking about is having a low time preference. Eating steak is a big thing, but just eating healthy nutrients, moving away from processed foods, seed oils, drinking spring water, not tap water, getting a whole lot of sun, and just absolutely chilling and doing everything you can to accumulate the world's hardest asset. And that's the reason why they push back so hard against S-coiners, because it's all about, let's get a Lambo, bro. Maybe that works out, not even for 1% of people. You will become the bag holder, being an altcoiner. But the Bitcoin maxis, they just want to help you because it's changed their own lives and they want your life to change. Because of that chaos we're talking about in the rest of the world, Bitcoin can fix it. But it requires everyone to stand up, to rise up, to be able to opt out of that fiat slave system and go into money that cannot be taken away, that cannot be debased the same as printing more money. They can't control it. And when they can't control the money, they cannot control you. And that's why the IMF has such a problem with Bitcoin. We'll see how they change their tune. We sort of touched on this earlier, but Vivek, last one here, 1.9 trillion Wells Fargo to approve its advisors to pitch Bitcoin ETS reports. The new Bitcoin marketing team is here. We're just getting ramped up. This party is just getting started. It's not about getting rich quick. You're probably going to get rich pretty quick. Like, well done to you. It's about not getting poor fast, because inflation, even if it's at 3.8%, which we have in Australia, you lose 30 odd percent in 10 years. Absolutely insane. I'll bring it back up. I won't. We saw it before. You can rewind, but the inflation rate only at 4%. It's actually way higher than that. So up to you. Bitcoin's compound about 60% per year. I think that may even increase over the cycle. But shout out to everyone watching live, watching the replay. If you can smash the like button, hit subscribe, the notification bell. Greatly appreciate it. Helps get the message out. The more people click on that like button, hit subscribe on the channel, YouTube will push out Bitcoin content, and do that on every Bitcoin video. Push, leave a comment, because YouTube will wake up and be like, people are interested in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, everyone needs to be interested in Bitcoin. The governments are making it really hard for people. The quicker they take the orange pill, the better for them in the long term. You can do what is hard and your life will be easy, or you do what is easy and your life will be hard. Easy for a little bit, hard forever. Up to you, Mr. Android in the house. Mike, OPD, let's effing go. Retro Beaver, g'day from the People's Republic of Canada. G'day from Socialist Australia, Retro Beaver. Gamers, the IMF, vomit, they're making them angry. Retro Beaver, dump some more fiat trash for the hardest money ever created. Bitcoin fire sale on fire. Brian D. Mint in the house. Brian D. Mint, the author of Parallel, the Bitcoin social layer. The things are a little bit bright. There we go. If you haven't read this book, read this book. Not paid, not sponsored. It is a freaking incredible book. Was lucky enough to get number 32 of 50 limited edition. And I'm proud as about these. I love having signed books by Bitcoin authors because I love reading. I love Bitcoin, and reading about Bitcoin, it is the best. The smartest minds in the world are flocking to Bitcoin. The insights, the parallel is like the why of Bitcoin, but the how of Bitcoin. How we destroy the current fiat financial system. It's not going to implode overnight. They're so good. Like what we saw on Monday with the Bank of Japan, absolutely collapsing, the rest of the world coming down. The US lost trillions of dollars like that. Australia, $100 billion gone like that because it's so interconnected and they're just propping it up. It's so fragile. It's slowly then suddenly. One day you're going to wake up and it's going to be like Lebanon. Don't let that happen to you. Tony from the Bitcoin Way, the sponsor of the show. Watch those videos with Tony. He's somebody that has experienced, and that's why he's on that mission. Please don't let it happen to you. And does it get as extreme as what Lebanon had, where they just shut the bank accounts down and are hyperinflated? Maybe, maybe not. 4% inflation is still truly terrible. Opt out of that. Please just opt out. It doesn't need to be with everything, but take the time to study Bitcoin now. G'day from Mount Borbor. How epic is Mount Borbor? Like, it's just, hey, Luna says hi. Hopefully Jake Thomas is not in the house this morning, trying to teach Luna little tricks. Little darling, I don't know where Chester is. But anyway, Mount Borbor, it's pretty epic. I was there last week, and it was the first time snowboarding. Put on the snowboard, totally unrelated to Bitcoin, but this is the chill part of that part of Bitcoin. Went up there, put the board on, and I'd never snowboarded before. I'd done it once indoors. Got the snowboard, put it on, and then, you know, like the lifts where you go up, put the thing between my legs and went up and then like fell off straight away. And then did it again, managed to get up to the top of the mountains, like going sideways, and I like sort of dragged myself a little bit. Anyway, got to the top of the mountain, strapped myself, my other boot into the binding, and just pointed straight down. And the first time I was sort of like going like this, and then this and this, like down like that each way. And I fell down once, and then I went back up, fell down once, went back up. And then eventually I managed to be able to go down like that. But it was absolutely epic. I was like, my wife's like, shouldn't you get lessons? Or shouldn't you get someone at least to try, or maybe just start on a little slope? I'm like, no, straight to the top, nose down, and I'm just going to see how I go. Absolutely epic. So enjoy Mount Borbor, Jurgen. It's what a place. And I believe Jurgen there, I met you there. It was a real pleasure, real cool. If it's the same person or a coincidence, but it's a neat place. Go out, snow, water skiing, jet ski, whatever it is. The world is absolutely amazing. It's a glorious, beautiful place. Make the most of it after you've stacked your Bitcoin. Morning legends, Jace Mercer in the house. Hit the like, everyone. Morning from somewhere down under. Mr. Android, I love this one. They're lying about the inflation number. A little bit of a puke there. Jim T. Greenings from PA, Mr. Android. Foundation Passport is easiest to use, especially for someone older. That's what I've heard. That's why I'll be getting it for my mother. It's like using a Nokia phone. Fast, air gapped, amazing camera, the best. I like that. The only thing I don't like there personally, because I'm biased, is having a camera on the device. I'd probably put tape over it at all other times. I don't know if they've got a built-in battery or not, or when you're using an air gap like the cold card, where you get a 9-volt like little square battery, you put the little thing on, and then the USB cable that has no data transmission, and it's got a magnet. So if you move it, it just comes off. The whole thing stops working. You need to go back through, enter everything into it. I like it when things become difficult. But yes, for older people, it is nice just to be able to have the simplicity, but something has to be air gapped. So I'll be looking into that. I'll buy one. And if you just want a review, let us know. I'm really interested in seeing it. To be honest, they look like a beautiful device. XRP is moving the market. XRP is a load of trash. Not a fan of XRP, although I hold a little. It's a PSYOP. It is absolutely a PSYOP. It's your money, it's your choice. But I don't know. I used to hold XRP many years ago and then woke up to the fact. I don't know, the whole community, that they are the most deluded community. I don't know if you're holding it for a gamble because you can see the community is deluded, but it's a CBDC. It's not my interest at all. Sean, what do you reckon of Sailors? I think it's absolutely epic. We touched on that. XRP loves the banks. XRP is one of the biggest shitcoin scams, still dumping on suckers. Avoid at all costs. My thoughts as well. Big money is on summer vacation. Yeah, but not long. Q4 this year, Q4 2024. It's got a nice ring to it, and I think the rest of the year is going to be good. And even if it's not, even if we get these prolonged sideways, just range bound for so long, it's glorious. It's a great opportunity. The longer it goes on, the more it tries to shake you up to have max pain, but I don't know. It's when heroes are made. Be like this gentleman, Bitcoin triple maxi. Be a Bitcoin triple maxi there. OPD, hell yeah, retro. Don't beware, be prepared, buy the F and dip. Totally agree, just about to do just that. Once I hop off, I will be smashing the buy button as well. It's a red day. It's a beautiful, glorious day. Who gives a S about a few red days? Just give you a chance to buy some cheap Bitcoin. 100%. Michael is on the money there. Permanently red. I hope. Wouldn't that be good? Wouldn't it be good if it's just permanently red for a little bit longer? A great interview with British Hodl and James Check. Truly appreciate that. OGs don't sweat the red days. They accumulate more than go and live their lives. 100%. The red days are the best days. For, I don't know, last year, been saying get ready, get used to the red days, smash the buy button on the red. Because we will see those days where it drops $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and you don't want to be shaked out. You want to get used to the red buttons now to feel that max pain. And if your plan is to sell at the peak of the market or whatever, write that plan down now. I don't think you should sell your Bitcoin, or not all of it, definitely, because you're not getting it back. But Bitcoin, superior savings technology. Have like a forever bag, maybe a long-term bag, another bag, and then a savings bag. And if you want to save for a house, probably the only way that you're going to be able to manage to do it, especially in Australia with the property Ponzi scheme, is to be able to save in Bitcoin. let that appreciate. Pay the tax on it. Don't avoid tax at all costs ever. Follow the law. They will come after you. Was it what was his name? The big Pablo Escobar. Was he the one that got taken down for tax evasion? Is that how they ended up getting him? Not for selling drugs, narcotics. I'm pretty sure it's Pablo Escobar and maybe another one. But the kingpins, it's how they get you. Just do the right thing. If you sell it, you're incentivized not to by the IRS or the tax agency here in Australia. If you do, okay, still appreciate more than the tax anyway. Enjoy it, but just don't panic with the red dates. They're all good. They're all gravy. Larry Lepard, soon maybe. I can get him back on. We did, Zig, if you missed it, what was it, maybe 3 weeks ago, had Lawrence Lepard on. Jeff Dorman, the guy knows his stuff. I will write that name down right now so I do not miss it. Jeff, I've not heard that name. It'll be always nice to be able to find new orange pill signal senders. Wait long enough and any amount of Bitcoin WL will be life-changing. 100% agree. I'll do the math. I might do a whole show if you're interested on how much Bitcoin you need to be able to retire. Say if you're at 20 years old, 30 years old, 40, 50, and then 60, obviously you're moving very close to retirement age. But closer to retirement age, you can't stomach as much volatility. I understand that from an emotional point of view. But if you've still got 5, 10 years to retire, it doesn't really matter. But let us know if you'd be interested in how much Bitcoin it's worth holding on to be able to live a life of financial freedom instead of eating the bugs. And that's their plan, for you to own nothing and be happy. Foundation device, passport wallet is great. Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Foundation is more superior to cold card. No need to fiddle with cable. Take an SD card in and out, although it also has that option. It's a simple as scan QR codes. It comes with rechargeable battery. Yeah, for me, I don't want a battery in my device at all. Nor do I want a camera on my device personally. My mum, maybe, but I don't know. I disagree with that for those reasons, but each their own. Like, it's still air gap, still, I don't know. I haven't used it yet. Maybe I may change my mind, but I highly doubt it. Want to do the best. Stay red till late September. Imagine 2 months of these prices. Imagine. So sad they're losing control of the IMF. Pablo Escobar or Roger Ver, well, both of them, definitely pay your tax. And Herb, Lick, Stephen, appreciate that video that you put out this morning. There is a lot of tension going on around the world, especially in London. I did see someone is from London. Al Capone, there we go. But in regards to Stephen, there's a lot of chaos going on, and it's them, they, the elite, whoever's controlling the world is trying to pit everyone against each other. Whether it's for entertainment, something sinister, probably go with that more. If you're going to a protest, be peaceful, please. Don't give in to what mainstream media wants, the chaos, the destruction, the tension. I understand things are getting pretty hectic in many places, but everyone's just people. And if there has been a high amount of immigration, they're fleeing from a place that is war-torn, suffering inflation, of course they're going to be angry. I understand. I'm not condoning any violence from either side in any way, but it's better to treat the world with love as much as humanly possible, and just don't feed into that fear campaign that is going on to pit people against each other. Because what they want to do is be like, this is so crazy. Everyone needs to have a digital ID. We need to be able to surveil everyone with facial recognition cameras. This is already the rhetoric that's coming out. Yeah. And then CBDCs come in, and then you own nothing can be happy. So don't give it to them. Just opt out. Realize it's all fucking fiat games. Be nice, be respectful for everyone. And hopefully everyone does that, and the world would be a better place. But I understand it's more nuanced than that. I just absolutely am disgusted with war. It doesn't matter however it's justified, people die. Like, what the fuck? Why do we just go there to kill people? That's all war does. Oh, and they get resources, yeah? And they print, like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and whatever, the stocks pump. Fuck, I don't want to support that. I don't want to buy that shit. I want to opt out of those fear games. So in any way you can do it, defund them, opt out with Bitcoin, and just be as nice as you possibly can. And fighting back or with each other is not the thing. You just need to get those governments out, vote them out, and do that through reasonable discord. And they do have the propaganda machine, which makes it hard. But, we still have X as well. At the moment, I know they're trying to ban that over in London or in the UK temporarily. Nothing's ever temporary. Tax was meant to be temporarily. Going off the gold standard, temporarily close the gold window. Don't let them do it, but just be as civil as you possibly can. Maybe that's trying to live in a utopian ideal world. Yeah, it is. But that's the world that I want to live in and that I can see is forming. And the future on a Bitcoin standard is absolutely amazing. However long that takes is up to each one of us to be able to share the message and get people to be able to stand that we don't need to have all this destruction, chaos that comes 100% from fiat money. It's all worthless garbage. Do I still live in Australia? I do. And I love this country. I'm going to stand up for this country because it's an absolutely beautiful place. The policies currently of what the government are doing, I don't agree with them. There's so many good things here in Australia. Walk upstairs, look out at the islands and the Great Barrier Reef. That place, the Great Barrier Reef, is absolutely amazing. If you've never been snorkeling, find somewhere with nice coral, please go there. It is like finding Nemo. It's absolutely glorious. Then you've got the ski fields. Mount Borbor, you've got rainforest, you've got the desert, it's got its own beauty, the stars in the sky, but planet Earth in general is so beautiful wherever you are that lives. I love Australians. I love the people that come here. We are multicultural. I love all of that. What's happening with the money printing and having the borders wide open at the moment during a housing crisis, that needs to stop. And that changes with the government. The two-party system is at the same beast on either side, yes, but then I'm getting pretty interested in what the Libertarian Party are doing. Politics, are they going to change everything? Yes and no. Maybe, maybe not. There is the possibility of this pendulum swinging, the fourth turning. That's happening. Argentina, El Salvador have had positive outcomes from their election. I hope that happens here in Australia. I need to do more research on it. But in the meantime, can opt out, stack Bitcoin, and enjoy this beautiful country. Avoid maybe the major cities, but even in Melbourne last week, it was nice. No problem whatsoever. So it's, it's amazing. Like what people are trying to do to divide and conquer and cause all this pain and chaos, I don't know. It's not anyone coming in. They're just trying to get away from a shit life to an amazing country. I respect them for it. I hope they respect the country that they're coming to. And most people do. Like the majority of humans are great people. It's just the policies the government does, the endless money printing, the endless spending. They do. The RBA, the Reserve Bank of Australia, is blaming the current government for spending too much money. And the RBA is not a private institution. It's owned by the Commonwealth of Australia. So that's going to say a lot, yeah? They're not misleading anyone. They're not trying to get votes or whatever or say we're superior. They're just be like, this is reckless. It's not people coming in. It's literally the government. They're not doing the right thing at the moment. Can they change their tune? Maybe is the second party going to do it? I don't know. Maybe they're just bad as each other, but maybe there is another option. We need to keep looking into that because it's glorious. The left is quite a bit worse than the right at the moment. I don't know. Like even this, like I get labeled right wing and then what's labeled left left wing. It's just sort of like the extremes on each end are pretty bad. I think most people that are being labeled right wing now, a couple of years back, they'd just be in the middle. Very conservative people, but don't buy into their games. Maybe provide factual evidence, but we don't need to argue with each other. You know, even the woke agenda and stuff, we can call it out for what it is, but we don't need to go and terrorize each other with bricks and bats in any way. That's not how it gets sorted, and it just feeds into what they want, which is total control over everything. Don't let them. But I think what Retro Beaver is saying is like the current incumbents as left, yeah, that's absolutely insane. Like the left and right, it's sort of meaningless because they just change sides like over the years. It's just nonsense, fact, nonsense and fiction and fear, or fact, truth, and you know that's been labelled right wing at the moment. It is what it is, but I don't know. Do your best just to be able to opt out of the fucking nonsense, buy, stack, and chill. Enjoy the red day. It's glorious. I will reach out to Jeff. Morning. I didn't write it down right properly, and my writing's real bad. Anyway, I'll reach out to Jeff there, get him on the show. Let us know who else you would, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe. Anyway, I know this is a bit of a long one, but appreciate you all being here. Have absolute glorious day. Be blessed. Peace. Oh, do something nice for yourself and for somebody else. Enough chaos going on in the world. I don't know. Pay it forward. Be blessed.